Thanks, Steve. That was really fascinating. What an amazing building and community. And quite a different slant on the ARI as well. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, this time am I right to say that it's Sarah? Right. Okay, I'd like to introduce Sarah Douglas. She's co-founder and current committee member of Free Ranging, an artist-run initiative located in the CBD of Perth. She's been involved in numerous art activities as an artist, academic and curator. She's been working in undergraduate and honours programs for the past 15 years and is committed to developing innovations in teaching practice and creative arts education. She's currently employed as lecturer within the Faculty of Architecture, Landscape and Visual Arts at the University of Western Australia. So over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate Paper Mountain on such a fabulous forum. I think, if nothing else, just the connections and the discussions I've had between the talks have been invaluable. The people that I'm meeting and listening to all that's going on, that many of which I was not aware of. So these forums are enormously important. Secondly, I'd like to warn you that I've discarded half of what I've written because I think a lot of things have been articulated extremely well. Kate and Anna, Alison really explored the experiences of artist-run initiatives, which I was going to cover, but I think they did it so well. So bear with me, because I want to talk about a couple of things around free range. And the title of this set of discussion was Relay, Collaboration and Community. And I'm just going to change it to the fungus forming community. So I remember some time ago reading an article in relationship to applied aesthetics, where the writer drew parallels between artist-run spaces and mushrooms. And he postulated that at its core, the artist-run initiative or space has a formidable network, sometimes unseen and other times visible, a network much like a rhizomatic structure of fungi, encompassing neither a beginning nor an end, but always a middle from which it grows and overspills. We know the artist-run spaces do inhabit the cracks and places that otherwise are often inhabitable. We've seen these spaces, we've sort of inherited one ourselves, where we had to scrub floors and evacuate rats and cockroaches from them. Vacant or abandoned buildings and unlikely shop fronts. It's within these interstices where the spores, and this is his postulating, are dispersed across the landscape. The spores begin with vital breakdown of the surrounding matter, the starting point of a vast cycle that serves as a catalyst for a whole cultural ecosystem. I thought this was a splendid ideation, and I've often thought about it in terms of the evolution of artist-run spaces in Perth, that they're popping up. And I believe that the spores are always present in the ground, and it takes certain conditions or certain determined individuals to create the conditions that enable such a catalyst. To free range, the genesis of free range incorporated, the fungi to which I'm familiar, was twofold. One was the desire to maintain connections with fellow graduates. We're talking 15 years ago, we established in year 2000. So from art school we graduated needing these connections. And another was a direct response to the absence of a space in Perth at the time for alternative modes of cultural production. And this latter space at the time probably determined the way free range has evolved over time, and we've continued to be a very flexible open space. We very rarely curate shows. We do sometimes invite specific people to have works there, But the interesting thing, and I was reflecting, it's great to have to talk about something because it makes you reflect, and I was reflecting on what we do. Sarah Yukic is a co-founding member who's sitting up there. And I think what we do is that we try and adapt to what comes to us. We try and understand what it is the artists are doing and open our minds to it. And I love the idea of the tea room, Steve, because most of the activity and great thinking happens around food and free range, and I think those points of intersection are really important. And sometimes we do have to grapple with what comes across our dinner table, and we have really sort of healthy debates about it. And often it's having to open our own minds to different things and taking risks, that sometimes we do have to take risks with proposals and take great leaps of faith in the artists themselves. Let's show you some images. But we have also had to adapt to economic conditions, changing locations. Our location, for those who don't know, is on Wellington Street in the central business district. This is what it looks like from the outside. It's very much, we're very conscious of choosing a street frontage. This is our attempt to engage the general public and have a certain degree of exposure. This is always the biggest challenge, I think. We have wonderful art communities who attend shows, but really engaging and the general public is a tricky one in Perth. And it can be, I think it is our biggest problem. I think we need to really work hard to innovate and extend our practices and our spaces to that general public. And I see there are wonderful initiatives that are doing that now, and it's great to see. So the idea of giving artists spaces to really experiment with, and Mrs. Jacobus Capone, when he was really starting off, where he placed a sort of a barrel in the space, this endurance performance work where he scratched for 24 hours round and round this barrel, creating a constant ring. A really moving work, and a work that really baffled the passerby. Leave it there. I think that we need to, we need to think about these collaborations and the importance that we are part of a larger culture of collectivity and collaboration, and we need to explore ways of making art that is built on the idea of working together. And there's been a lot of discussion about burnout. And I don't know why we're still here really. So we do a bit of a tag team. The relay metaphor works particularly well for free range, because we do every now and then just have too much and we have to step back, and someone else just steps up for a while, and there's this constant coming and going, and it seems to work. I think it has a lot to do with the people that the strong relationships and friendships of the people I've worked with, but also the people who've come and gone. They're really important to give new and refreshed energy. And I'd like to welcome Carla Adams onto Free Range. It's just starting, so. Just showing some images now. A particular event happened the end of last year, November last year, that I'd also like to talk to, because it had a quite profound effect on me. And we decided we'd mix it up. We really would like to see more experimentation and innovation and ways of practicing art and how the space is used. So we decided we'd just throw something out there called Love Hotel. And some people are here who participated in that. As someone who's been in the arts for some time, and and whose practice maybe is, I take forever to come up with an idea and develop it, is very minimal. And I was thrown into this kind of quagmire, and I'll just tell you a bit about it. So the project Minister McGrath wrote, and Danny did some images and a really interesting catalogue, because we invited them to write about it because we had no idea what was going to happen. It was something that we just set up a system where we had 5 sets of artists in groups of 2 or threesomes, pairs or threesomes, and we offered them the space for 48 hours, and you could do whatever you wanted in the space. You left the space, you handed your key over, and another set of artists would come in and keep working, and so on. The Love Hotel, it's comes from the Love Hotel in Japan. So where you can hire a room by the hour and use, by those wishing, this is Melissa's writing, by those wishing for a space to explore desires without judgment, but also maybe without ownership of those desires in a wider societal context. So this was our Love Hotel, and I'll show you some images of the processes and type of things that evolved. And there's some interesting responses. That one of our first artists was Joe Richardson and Karen Broadhurst. And we all know Karen loves his fellas. And despite my wide varied experience as a mature woman, I've never been faced with quite so many at one time to have to deal with. So it was very fascinating and challenging. However, it unfolded and we didn't know what was happening, and the 3 of us, Sarah Yukic, Tanya Schultz and myself, were kind of core people at the time, free range, then had to face this and try and bring it together somehow. And what a refreshing, engaging experience that was for me, particularly someone who works in academia. And I'm constantly looking to see new ways of thinking and experiencing art practice. I think my connection with an artist-run initiative is enormously important, working in creative arts education. I'm constantly amazed at what these younger people come up with, and it challenges our idea of aesthetics. This was very much a dialogical aesthetic that was undergoing. Even though we didn't frame it in any particular way, we just saw what was unfolding. And there's a great deal, I'd like to write more about this once I have time to think about it to a deeper level, but I'll show you some more images. And I'm very interested in your responses to this work. We did set up some idea of some instructional elements to it, so we did leave little subtle instructions to somebody. This particular work in the background regarding the bell tower nearly had us closed down. The City of Perth was not happy. We're in a building that they own, and they've been relatively generous to us. So there was a quick minor censorship required just for a short time. Little did they know that asking us to censor something really does bring attention to it, and it became more powerful than it otherwise would have been. And I don't think I've got an image of that the actual experience went beyond the gallery, because Anna and Renee actually dragged some of their work into a performance, semi-musical piece where they dragged this thing here, I think it was, through the streets. So it extended all around the kind of neighbourhood, and I've seen the recording of it, and yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing to do, to extend beyond. And I'd be very interested in seeing that again. We have an idea, and he's gone actually, but 1 minute, sorry, of extending this concept even further, getting some funding and inviting very established artists nationally and possibly, if we get enough funding, internationally, and actually challenge them to a love hotel, live in, and see what happens, engage writers. So I'll probably leave it there, and I'm really interested in responses later. Thank you.